Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Just two guys on a path.
Yeah, but that path now has cameras.
I know, it's kind of scary.
Oh my gosh, what is coming, Mikey?
What
are we working on here?
Well, they say camera. So just for behind the scenes, we've got video going because we may or may not expand our horizons. But they say the video adds poundage. So now I'm like
40
80,
pounds.
now I'm like 89.
40 pounds. Yeah, that's hilarious. I guess I got to lose 20 more to add 10, right?
Do you need a calculator? Or?
I don't. I was just going to say, please help me.
Yeah.
Please help me. So what's going on, brother?
So
How you doing, man?
Table for two, but it's been a while. We got a table for three today.
Yeah, we've done a lot of table for twos. And,
yeah, I know.
But hey, man, I'll tell you what. Love connecting with folks out there. Sober.Coffee. That's our website. Our barista, Brian, lays it all out at the beginning, but I always like to say it. Sober.Coffee is our website. Mikey doing a great job on that. That has all of our resource center, so that's kind of where everything's at.
Right.
It's got all the podcasts, and all the cool graphics and episode highlights. And then we're on Instagram, Sober.Coffee Podcast. We have a couple followers on there. We always drop some stuff throughout the week. We've been trying to go a little live once in a while. We'll increase that. And then, folks, out there on all these podcast portals, I'm not sure what the word is, platforms, that's it. All the podcast platforms, you have the ability to place a review.
Yeah, right.
So that's our kind of, hey, if you like this flavor of coffee, place a review.
Yeah, that's a great point. You can also, it helps. Look, here's the whole thing. If you do a review like on Google, it's going to help the next person who's it's going to help the Google algorithm point people to our podcast so that the next person looking for a little hope maybe can stumble upon us and get some hope. So, yeah, leave a review. Just good ones, though. Yeah. If you got bad ones, you can email Glenn directly at I'mAnIdiot.com.
I'm an idiot at Sober.Coffee,
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And just a little behind the counter, Mikey's sitting next to me. He normally sits across from me.
I know, right?
But
it's
now with
awkward.
the video, he's sitting next to me, and I'm like, not sure what to do.
Yeah.
I am certainly a creature of habit, but
just respect my personal space there, would you?
You've already violated mine. So,
listen, we got a table for three today. I want to jump in right away because we have Megan. Good morning, Megan.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good morning. Good evening.
Yeah. Good morning. Good evening. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yeah. And we're so super excited to have Megan. So a little backstory is, there's no look. However you're going to get sober. You're going to get sober. We hope the podcast help you get sober.
We are pro sobriety.
We are pro sobriety. Our background is with AA, and today we have Megan, and I know Megan from the rooms of AA, and I see her everywhere, and so it was inevitable that we would get together on this podcast because every time I show up at the center on hours or off hours. Who's there? Megan. She's doing something. There's plants.
That's awesome.
I mean, everything from plants to be watered to budgets to be met and analyzed and bids to be put out and meetings to coordinate and chair people to educate. And there's just so much stuff to do. And so I thought, we always talk about service and the beauty of what service does for the servicer. And we were talking at the fellowship and then we said, well, why don't we carry this conversation on at the coffee shop? So we're so happy to have you here today, Megan.
Yeah,
welcome,
I'm so
welcome.
happy to be here.
Yeah. And
So Mikey laid out all those things that you do. It's a 6-figure job, right?
oh yeah. Yeah. Time and a half on Sundays.
Good benefits.
Amen, man.
Great benefits.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
great benefits. So yeah, there is so much that goes on in the club. And I don't know what direction you're going to end up talking about today.
I think you should define club.
Yeah, right.
Because
Okay.
there's some folks out there that I mean, there's times that we use words that we know what it means, right? But there's,
like alcoholic. Pretty sure I know what that means.
yeah, we certainly know what that means.
Yeah.
So what's a club?
Wait a minute, one more. Will the defendant please rise? I know what that means.
Yeah, oh my
I
gosh.
know that one.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so Megan, can
That's
I
too much
toss it over to
information.
you and give a little background about the club we go to? It's mokinafellowship.org, and it's a great place to. It's a freestanding building that has a lot of moving parts. So
Yeah, the fellowship's been around for 31 years, and it started off in one location, was there for about 25 years, moved. We had a short-term rental.
Is that the Aurelio's Pizza?
It was
place?
behind the
Yeah,
Aurelio's
That's
Pizza
where I started.
for, I think, like 26 years.
That's where I started.
Yeah, or 28. And then we got kicked out. Well, they were going to use
Wait.
the space for another purpose, so we were not renewed.
okay, but we didn't get kicked out for being
Not
rowdy.
for bad behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Not for great behavior.
Too
no,
many
but,
cigarette butts? or
yeah.
what? Yeah.
But yeah, then we moved to a small room. We went from 2 rooms to 1 room, really downsized, had to cut some meetings. It was tough. And our mission at that point was to find a permanent home. And I heard it around the rooms that they were looking for a permanent home. And it really inspired me to get more involved with the club at that time. And that's when I started going to our steering committee meetings, which are our business meetings. And they were looking for a home. And I felt I want to be a part of that journey. I want to be a part of finding somewhere to go because that club saved my life. That club has meetings from
Likewise,
5
by the way.
a.m.
Ding,
till,
ding, ding.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And and I had great models for me. I had women who'd been in the program for 20 years who were still doing service work on a regular basis. And they told me, that's part of our triangle. It's unity, service, and recovery. And that service is what kept me sober. It helped me feel a part of. It helped relieve guilt and shame that I had been carrying from my drinking by doing good works. It saved my life, It started with just cleaning up coffee pots, wiping down counters, cleaning the tables, and taking the garbage out. And then,
Can I go to the nasty for a second, though?
Yeah.
There's a restroom in the facility. They got to be clean. Someone's got to clean it. We don't have a
someone's gotta
service.
clean those toilets.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people think we do.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, you don't have a cleaning service?" I said,
No.
"No, we've got
We got
members,
volunteers, right? Service people.
Right.
Step 12.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is part of it,
Right,
and it takes a lot of hands, and it can get tiring.
So you're on the hunt for a location,
Yeah.
and tell us then to that story.
Yeah, so we'd seen a few different places, and one day a friend of mine from another meeting had said, "Hey, what about that church over on Route 6?" And I said, "Oh, okay, I'll check it out." And I brought it up to the meeting and find out that building had just been sold 2 months before. So our realtor went and talked to the new owners. Well, they weren't able to get permits for the renovations they wanted to do, so they were interested in selling.
Okay.
Man, I love how this stuff works.
Yeah, right.
We went to see the place, and it couldn't have been more ideal.
Oh,
A
it's
big
perfect.
I just
meeting
love
room,
how
a
this
lower
stuff works.
level. Yeah, and it was ideal. Our eyes were popping out of our heads with excitement. But it took some negotiating. They wanted a lot more than we were able to afford. But we finally got it. I feel divine intervention there.
Right, sure.
That's awesome.
If they'd already bought it and we're going to do something else. And, luckily we came in just in time.
Right.
And, now we've been there for
And we opened
2 years.
And we opened up right when COVID hit.
That was a blessing and a curse. So we COVID hits like March 17th around
Right,
here. I think
right.
we shut down, and we were moving out of our old place and into the new place. But there were so many more renovations to
That
become
had to be
ADA
done.
compliant
Sure.
than we had expected. So that shutdown period gave us that time
to do that.
to make it ADA compliant, so that all of our members who are older and getting on
Like
in
me.
years, because we only had ADA bathrooms in the lower levels, so you'd have to go around outside of the
Right,
building,
sure.
downstairs. It was just now everywhere you go, you
Easier
can
to put an
ADA
outhouse.
bathroom.
Just how it works, man. Isn't that great how it works? We're all ready
Yeah.
to go, and then the building's not ready, and then COVID hits.
Right.
And,
Mm-hmm.
man,
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, so what you're saying is God said, well, how about a global pandemic so that Mokina
Just for us.
Fellowship can get a bathroom?
Just for us.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I might be saying that. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
It just always works out.
Well,
Somehow.
I'm glad we did this little background because in AA, a lot of meetings are not clubs. They're just meetings that are held in basements
Like
of
one
churches.
meeting a week,
That's right, one
right?
meeting a week. But there are internationally clubs that host multiple meetings, and we are one of them. And so that's the
So how
definition
many
of
meetings
club.
a day are there at Mokina? 6, 8,
Definitely
4,
5 a day,
5?
sometimes more, but
So it's
never
a
less.
space, the club makes it a designated space, right?
Yep. And we have AA
Exclusive.
meetings all day, every day, and we have
Al-Anon
and
and
we have
Alateen.
Coda, and and we have space to grow, which
We
is
have
even
breakfast
better.
on Sunday mornings, a little
Yeah.
kitchen,
Yeah,
nice
right,
kitchen and
right.
breakfast. And
Yeah. So yeah, it's but there's a lot that goes on to keeping those doors open, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and sometimes you can get caught up in all of the trials and tribulations. But service work ultimately brings us together.
Right.
It's we're working on a common goal, and we're working to make a home for alcoholics where they can walk in and be happy. One of my favorite things we did at the club is what Mike mentioned, the flowers out front. We wanted it to feel like home. So a group of us women got together and we started planting flowers, things that'll come back every year. And
Oh, that's
every year
great.
we do it, it just makes us so happy. And when you walk up the steps, and it's beautiful. It's
But
welcoming.
what I'm hearing you say is you now have a bond with 4 or 5 other women.
Exactly.
And you've got a relationship. You know, the church that I go to, they're really big on small groups and service work. Get involved in the usher team, right? And then you create a bond with those other 6, 8 ushers, right? Or the community, whatever team you're on. And so is that what I'm hearing you say? It
Yeah.
creates those bonds.
Definitely doing that, doing our annual picnic, which is a huge event. We have up
Right.
to 500 people at that picnic, and it takes many hands to
Right.
make that happen. And it's wonderful. It's how I meet people. My sponsor, she and I did a lot of women's meetings, and it wasn't until she got involved in service work with me on steering committee that she even started to meet some of the men in our program. And so it's definitely something that brings us together and bonds us, like you said. And now when I'm in trouble, when I'm in crisis, I have a whole new group of people that I can call on, not just the ones I know from the meetings, but the ones I know who do service work. And
that's awesome.
I want to spend time with those people that are doing service work, that are giving back. That's the kind of sobriety I want.
So, Mikey, what was the first time in the program that you ran across service?
Yeah, so somebody asked me to chair a meeting. And
That's certainly service.
I first I thought they just wanted me to set the chairs up, which I was certainly,
Of course you did.
I was certainly qualified for that. But then they wanted me to be the boss, and then I was quickly told that you're not the boss of anything. All you are is a
Turn the lights
coordinator. Yeah, make sure the door's unlocked.
That's
Follow
awesome.
this format on the sheet, but here's the thing. Is that it got me there to chair those weeks. And then if I could, I want to segue shortly after that, one of the people in the meeting had a driving license issue and couldn't make it to the meeting on their own. And so in the spirit of service, I said, well, I'll pick you up, right? Well, now I'm committed. So I'm committed to chair. Now I'm committed to pick somebody else up. It helped my program, even though I was helping them. It helped my program. It helped me grow deeper. But that was my kind of
Well, it
first
kept you coming back.
experiences.
I mean,
right?
that's one thing I like about committing to things. And it's funny because, I'll make a joke about this, but I'll commit to things. And when it comes time to do it, I'm like not in the mood. And then I'm like, oh, man, I can't believe I agreed to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm too busy. I got so many other things to do. I don't have time.
Blah blah blah.
But then I do it. And I'm telling you,
You love it.
yeah, the minute I walk in the door or the minute it's game time, right, whatever it is, I'm in the zone. And 100% of the time after I do it, I'm like, man, that was awesome. I'm so glad I did that.
I just don't think it can be
Megan,
understated.
I have a bunch of head trash going on up here that just keeps me going. But
Well, that's why we have a podcast.
It provides a lot of material.
We're allowing you an avenue to puke that out over the
it
next
provides a lot of
18
material.
minutes.
That's right. All right,
okay.
so let me jump in. I know you got
Yeah.
some stuff.
No, that's all right.
Do you have notes? You got notes prepared, don't you?
No, I don't.
Oh, my gosh.
I took some that when she was talking. It was
I
good
did too.
stuff.
All right, so my first experience with service was 2003. I was in my first rehab in Laguna Beach. And I picked it for the right reasons. I picked it because it was oceanfront and had a private chef and had yoga on the beach. All that stuff.
Chocolates on the pillow.
Chocolate on the pillow. Like, I didn't have to make my bed. They made it for you and stuff like that, right?
Nice.
So, I mean, I thought I was privileged, and that's why I picked it. And they were going to just serve me for 30 days. And my temporary sponsor had a different idea. And I remember one day we were driving the car and he was dropping me back off. He goes, look, here's your assignment. I'm like, assignment? He goes, and like there was two places. One, there was the oceanfront palace that I lived in, and then there was like a house up on the hill where like 30 folks stayed. And he says, I want you to go up to that kitchen. I want you to take those Gucci's off, and I want you to scrub the kitchen floor.
You're like, wait, what?
And I'm like, dude, they pay people to do that.
That's right.
Like, I'm not doing that. He goes, I am not kidding. He goes, I want you to do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I did. They first of all, they weren't Gucci's. It was Coach. No, Cole Haans. So I took my Cole Haans off and I went up and I scrubbed. And that was like the first. And I'm like, what am I doing? A, I'm not getting recognition. No, there's no attaboys. There's no pats on the back. Second thing is, I'm not getting paid. So that was my first thing. So now I'll let you go to your notes.
No, that's fine. And did you deduct that from your invoice when you paid for this?
No, I thought about
resort?
it. Though. I did think about it. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that was.
So I picked up three things. Service work brings us together. That's huge right there. You build a network of support, right? That's a byproduct, and you meet people. It's a great way to meet people.
Yeah. And other thing, also outside of AA, when I started going back to social events where drinking was happening, service work became my busy work. I would get up from the table and I go and do the dishes. And that's something I never did when I was drinking. I go to people's houses for a party.
Yeah, right.
And what I discovered was a lot of the other women sat up in the kitchen and having coffee and dessert. I didn't know that because I'd always be down in the basement by the bar.
Right.
Yeah, so that service work, it gave me something to do with my hands so that I could get through that event. And it's always my go-to because even still sometimes that little anxiety about being in a social situation with drinking will niggle at me and I'll find myself shoving a bunch of food in my mouth. So instead I go and I wash some dishes. Right. And that's been a big help. But also when I'm in crisis. When I have that hamster on the wheel up in my head and I'm obsessing on something, I need to go and do some service work. And I'm lucky that I've been doing the Mokina Fellowship website. So I have my computer, I can hop on and I can work on the website or work on our newsletter. And it's how I can be of service and stop thinking about myself and think of what I can do for others.
So it gets you out of yourself.
Gets me out of my head.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Calms the head trash.
Right.
So, are you done with your?
Yeah, I'm done with my list.
Man, that was a nice list, though.
But now I added more stuff.
All right. So here's a key about service. And I was doing the 12 steps. I get the 12 step, and at first I thought I was like, okay, I'll make coffee, right? And frankly, I was intimidated to start. I mean, I was at zero. So for me, the first couple times I poured coffee for people, like I was nervous I was going to spill it on them. They wouldn't have cared. I mean, that's just how our rooms are. Just people don't judge you. But I mean, and so, I ramped it up slow. But there was a period of time, probably a couple years sobriety. And every time I did service, I would call my sponsor up. And I'd say, hey, brother, I just did some service. Here's what I did. And his response was, so? And I'd be like, and so I kind of make a joke about it, if I did service and I didn't tell anybody about it, does it really count? Right?
If a tree
did I really do it?
In the forest, right?
Did I really do it? I mean, if I don't get credit for it, if I don't get attaboys for it, what am I doing it for? Right? I mean, I literally, for 2 years, I lived like I would do service. And honestly, Megan, I have a lot of head trash. You talk about the mice going around. And I mean, to this day, I have gotten better I mean, for like 4 years in sobriety, I would change the trash bag at home, and I'd want an attaboy. I would want my wife to recognize it and say, man, you are such a stud because you took out the trash and you put a new bag in. And now I've gotten over that. You know, I mean, I do stuff today and I just do it to do it, and I feel good about it myself, and that's it. But it took a lot of time. It was not instant. And I always remember calling up my sponsor and telling them so.
Yeah, so.
And then secondly, what I have found about service work is a couple key things. Number one, I have found that it's a superpower for me. That's kind of the words that I put it into. And what I mean by that is I always find the time, the energy, the focus, no matter what it is, I just fit it in. I can have the busiest week, and if somebody calls me, I had a guy last week call me, he goes, Glenn, I need to talk. It was 5 a.m. and I have my chores. I make lunches. My mornings are packed. And you know what? I spent an hour talking on the phone with that guy, talking through some stuff. And the rest of the day, I cannot tell you how this works. I can. It just works. My day went like butter the rest of the day. And I was talking to Mikey. You and I were talking about it today. Things that normally takes 4 hours took 20 minutes on that day. I mean, it's just, I'm telling you how this stuff works. Yep. It is a super, I'm getting chills right now, you know, just sharing it because I am amazed at how this stuff works. I found the hour, and I actually had extra time at the end of that day that there was no way in the world I was going to have. I'm telling you. And, you know, a guy came up to me, asked about a service project. He goes, Glenn, I really want to do this. I just don't have the time. I'm like, say yes. You will find the time. This shit works out. Mm-hmm. It's going to work out. Just say yes and do it. Yeah. And sure enough, he did it. And he was able to attend 80% of the stuff, and he got fill-ins for the other 20. And, you know, it was just amazing. So to me, it's a superpower.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. And I think that's the message that you brought it. There's so many elements that are benefit the server, you know, but it's and I love getting out of my own head because I'll be sitting there thinking, well, I got this, I got that, I got that. And when you're serving somebody else, and that could be opening a door, it could be helping out in the community, you know, just it gets you out of your own head. And all of a sudden your world turns to a different shade of color. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you just do it. You don't care what people think. You know, that's so hard. That took me years. Megan, I am on the slow train. It just took me years to really, you know, and, you know, now my wife goes out of town, and so I always invite some guys over, right? I do a barbecue or something. And hey, you know what? There was a time recently I sent a note out to 19 people. I'm like, hey, let's have a cookout. Nobody responded.
And I've been to his cookouts. They're fabulous.
You know, and I'll tell you, nobody responded. But you know what? 3 years ago, I would have been offended by that. I'd be like, oh, my gosh, what am I doing? Nobody likes me. What's going on? You know, it's like, I'll get you next time.
Yeah.
And the next time I had, 10
guys.
or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. Megan, anything to close on service? That
Megan, you do a lot. I see your name all over.
I know.
I thank you for your service. I love getting the newsletters, and the website's great, and the flowers are also good.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing before you close up, Megan, is that, you know, because of effort of you and people like you, those doors were open the first time I had to walk through. And there was flowers and a clean toilet and coffee and all these things. And for me, for lowly me, it was there. And so I do it to make sure that the door is open, the flowers are there, etc., for the next person.
Yeah. One of my favorite things, we have all our sayings in AA, is our responsibility statement. When anyone anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA always to be there. And for that, I am responsible. And that's why I do it, because, you know, I have kids. This is a family disease. I want this fellowship to be there for them. And I have to keep doing service work and passing it on to other people to keep that available for them to save their lives someday, maybe.
Right.
Hopefully not, but you
great.
never know.
And based on our last 25 minutes, it doesn't sound like drudge to me.
No, it's so fun.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. I've made great friends doing service work at the fellowship. I love it.
Yeah. Megan, will you come back and visit us
That's
again?
awesome.
Anytime.
All right. Be careful what you say,
Megan,
because
thank
I'm
you,
going to
thank
have
you.
you again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys
Thanks
for
for
asking
jumping
me.
in the
All
coffee
right.
shop.
Let's
Thanks
jump
for
in.
doing this.
Do service.
Yep.
You got it.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.